From the front lines of the letter carrier craft, this is the In Solidarity Podcast, brought to you by the proud members of New Jersey's Merge Branch 38, where unity is strength and strength is action. We're here to inform, empower, and defend the rights of every letter carrier. Stay sharp, stay informed, stay united. This is In Solidarity with your hosts, Armando Pedrera and Clifford Dodd.
Welcome, brothers and sisters, to the In Solidarity Podcast, brought to you by the members of New Jersey Merge Branch 38. I'm Armando Pedrera.
And I'm Clifford Dodd. We're proud to launch this podcast as a new way to connect, educate, and support letter carriers across our branch of over 6,000 members. This is not by any means a replacement for branch meetings or real-world action. This is simply an additional resource for our members, letter carriers, and stewards alike.
We're going to tell you a little bit about ourselves. I'll go first. I started at the Dover Annex in June of 2000. Like many carriers, I learned early that understanding the contract is everything. So that led me into becoming an alternate steward pretty quickly. I became the steward in Dover in 2009, became a part-time area rep in 2016. I've done route inspection trainings, CCA Academy, CCA orientations. I've been to Formal A and Beyond trainings, arbitration trainings. Recently went to officers training, and now I'm a full-time officer at the branch. I'm the corresponding secretary, and I've been the corresponding secretary since 2025.
My guy.
Yeah, buddy.
I'm Clifford Dodd. I started as a CCA in Rutherford in 2017. I was a CCA for almost 2 years. But early on, I realized that if I didn't learn the rules, I'd be at a serious disadvantage, and I just couldn't live like that. Once I started attending union meetings and understanding how the grievance process worked, completely changed how I approached the job. And I always stay learning to navigate the contract, and I always say it helped me. I felt like a caveman discovering fire for the first time, learning the contract. And I just continued at every possible chance to step up. And becoming a steward, I won a Branch Hero Award for the food drive, organizing schools in my local community to increase donations. I've been to several branch trainings, Formal A and Beyond, and I serve as the area representative for the branch. And all these things have been an honor and privilege to serve letter carriers within our branch.
That's awesome, man. And that's really what this podcast is about. It's about closing the knowledge gap, passing the torch on to the next generation of letter carriers and potential union leaders, empowering our brothers and sisters, and building strength across our union, because right now that's exactly what we need, brother.
Exactly. I mean, whether you're brand new or have 30 years in, there's always something we can always learn. We're all learning every day. And the more you understand your rights, the harder it is for those rights to be violated. So
in this podcast, we're going to do our best to break things down. This way it makes it easy that we're going to use real situations, real cases, and real solutions. This podcast is about training. We're not here to talk about political stuff. We're not here to bash anybody. It's just about training, getting our training to our union reps, our carriers, because at the end of the day, knowledge is power. And this is what we want to do. We want to be able to educate everybody, and hopefully this podcast will get you guys involved and get you, to learn what your rights are, and knowledge is power. Protect yourselves.
Yeah, no question.
Yep.
And for those who don't know, New Jersey Merge Branch 38 represents carriers across a wide area of installations, big and small, throughout New Jersey, with over 6,000 members from Park Ridge at the top of the state all the way down to Lakewood, from recently merged Jersey City on the Hudson River, all the way to Belvedere on the Delaware River. We're one of the largest branches in the country, and we represent offices big and small, too many to mention, but, Dover, Kilmer, Union, Rutherford, Clifton, and just so many more, including Newark, New Jersey, where Branch 38 originally got numbered by the National Association of Letter Carriers back in 1890.
Yeah, that was a long time ago, brother. The branch we know today was formed through a series of historical mergers for the purpose of strengthening representation, unify resources, and ensure consistency in how the contract is enforced across offices. These many offices across the state, big and small, that have come together within Branch 38 over the years, have built their collective power, making our branch one of the most successful in the country. We are very proud of the legacy of courage, hard work, and dedication of the thousands of letter carriers that came before us. And we owe a lot to those guys, because without them, we wouldn't be here, brother.
No question. That's right, Armando. Strength through merger is Branch 38's slogan. You know, instead of operating in all these little silos, we operate together as a one unified branch. And that collective energy has given us stronger and more frequent training. It's also given us, with the founders had envisioned, which is access to full-time representation, stronger grievance handling, in-house arbitration advocacy, and many of the other things that Branch does. We really owe it to all our forefathers and letter carriers that came before us to, and these are the resources and knowledge that we would try to bring in this podcast.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, that's what mattered, brother. Carriers standing together and backing each other up. That's what a union is about. If you guys think that we're just a union, it's not. The carriers that work for this company and this branch are the union. So it's not just about the guys that work in this office. At the end of the day, our unionism is about lifting up one another, not just about just one person. It's improving our work lives, striving for that fair day's work, for that fair day's pay, and fighting for a better quality of life. The union has given such purpose to so many of our members and brothers and sisters that came before us. This is just an extension that we could push it forward. So again, hopefully we could all stick together through this and learn something through this, and hopefully we get more people involved in being part of this great union. So before we get started with what one of our topics is going to be today, I want to go over some announcements, some MDA events we got coming up. And for those of you guys who don't know, I'm also the MDA coordinator for the branch, and every year we lead the country in the amount of money we raise for MDA. Last year we raised, I believe it was over $52,000, and our goal this year is always to make at least one more dollar so we could send, raise as much money as we can for this terrible disease, and so we can come hopefully up with a cure. And a lot of the money goes towards, besides research and equipment, it goes to sending these kids to camps. It takes about $3,000 to send one of these kids to a camp for a week, and our goal is to send at least one more kid every year. And the one event we got coming up rather soon is on May 17th, is the day at the races at the Monmouth Racetrack. It's $70 per ticket. Comes with food, soda, water. You can bring your own booze, but it's got to be just beer or seltzers. There's no hard liquor. On June 14th, we have our second annual MDA fishing trip, which is $150 a person. It starts at 6 in the morning. You'll be able to reach out to us and find out more details through our website and all that stuff too, and our Facebook page. And on June 19th, we have our golf outing at the Cranberry Golf Club, and that's $120 a golfer. So hopefully we'll see you guys at those events.
So again, this is not a replacement for branch meetings. We encourage every member to come to our branch meeting. Our branch meetings are held every first Wednesday of the month at 7:30 p.m., and that is at the Woodbridge Elks Lodge, 665 Rahway Avenue in Woodbridge, New Jersey. Please try to make it down.
Yeah, and if you've never been to a union meeting, we strongly encourage you to come to one, because over there you can meet up with other carriers from other offices, other stewards from other offices. You have all your officers from the branch that'll be there. We have our union lawyer that's there, Donnie Millman. We have our business agent that's there most of the time, our New Jersey State President. And a lot of times carriers will come up to us after the meeting, and stewards will come up to us after the meeting and ask us questions, and you'll be able to answer all your questions there. And if we can't find an answer for you that night, we will get an answer for you after that. So yeah, it's a good idea to come there, because the more people that come, the better it is. And again, it's about gaining knowledge and finding out what's going on in the union. You shouldn't just go by what you see on Facebook and on the internet. Just come to the meetings and we'll tell you what's going on.
Yeah. And you can also find updates about our branch, along with a lot of other resources at www.branch38nalc.com, and on our Facebook page, New Jersey, that's NJ Merge Branch 38. There you find a wealth of resources, grievance tools, all kinds of information. When I was a new steward, I was using everything on there, all the forms that you need, hold down forms for CCAs, grievances, all kinds of information.
Yeah, and there's a lot of other branches when I go to all these other trainings that love our Facebook page and our website because there's so much stuff that they use on our website, especially where there's a lot of stuff there. So if all these other branches are using it, you guys should use it as well. And for anyone interested in stepping up, whether it's a steward or helping out with in your office or getting involved in the MDA fundraisers, this is a time to get involved. And if you want to get involved, just reach out to us. At the end of this podcast, we're going to have a way to reach out to us, and we'll put it out there. But yeah, just we're looking for people to step up, and hopefully you guys are one of them, and we'll see.
Right on. So for our first episode, we wanted to start with Stewards Rights as foundation for our hot topic for this episode. And as this being the first episode, we thought we'd start there, as that's really the foundation of the grievance procedure and what we do on the workroom floor. And it all starts with Stewards Rights. So let's get into it a little bit and tell our members and our stewards a little about it.
Yeah, everything we do as a union in the workplace starts here. If stewards can't function properly, then the contract can't be enforced, and that's where we got to start. We got to start enforcing the contract the way it was meant to be.
So, Article 17 establishes the rights of the union to represent employees. That includes the rights of stewards to investigate grievances, meet with employees, and that's any employee. Don't let anybody tell you you can't interview a clerk or a supervisor or anybody else in this company or anyone else for that matter, along with the processing of the grievance and the dispute itself.
Right, and more importantly, I should say, stewards entitled to reasonable time on the clock to perform these duties. That includes investigating cases, preparing grievances, and meeting with management. And it's important that you guys understand that. We need time on the clock. Don't do stuff off the clock unless they force you to, and that's a whole different subject that we'll cover. But stuff you do is on the clock, and it's a reasonable amount of time. So you can't put in a crazy amount of time for a small investigation, but put in what you're going to need, what you think you're going to need.
Yeah, management doesn't get to decide whether a grievance is worthy before a steward investigates it. That decision belongs to the union. But again, let's be reasonable. I always lean into the, have a conversation with management first. I used to show up a little early and let management know, hey, I got this issue going on, and we're going to be moving forward. I got to request some things, but let's be reasonable. But check with your area rep prior to making any requests, because we want to find out really what we're looking for. And as new stewards, or your casual member, we don't always exactly know what we're looking for, what forms we should be asking for, or what tax reports or anything else. So let's be clear, and let's even I have to reach out to Armando or the branch or other people. So none of us know everything, but let's seek the help and guidance that we need, and let's get these proper requests in, so we're not having to go back for information, once the case is ready for formal.
That's a great point, man, because we need to get on the same page. I got all my stewards calling me, and I don't mind people calling me, so we can just get the information that we need for that grievance. And there's always something that pops up that you might need later on, but it's important to, like Cliff said, to reach out to your area rep so we can tell you what to request. And if a carrier raises an issue, the steward has the right to investigate it, and that's it, period. I mean, it shouldn't even just be a right. We have to. If a carrier comes up to you and says, listen, there's an issue here, it's your obligation, our obligation, to look into that to see if there's a grievance. And if there is, then we move forward with the process.
Yeah. Now, let's talk more specifically about Article 31 and information requests.
Yeah, this is the most powerful tool, one of the most powerful tools we have. Article 31 gives the union the right to request any information that is relevant and necessary to investigate a grievance. And the key word there is any information. We're allowed to request anything we want when it comes to to investigate a grievance.
Yep, and that includes things like clock rings, tax reports, scanner data, disciplinary records, route data, anything needed to understand what happened.
Yeah, and once the request is made, management is obligated to give you the information that is requested. They don't have an option. You put in a request, they got to give it to you.
Yep, and if they don't, that's a separate violation in itself. So You can't have a fair grievance process without access to information.
Yep. And when you combine these two articles, 17 and 31, you get the foundation of enforcement, the right to investigate, and the right to obtain the evidence. Those are the key things that we need to enforce, just so we get these grievances going and get them going the right way.
Yep. Without those two rights, the grievance procedure doesn't function.
Yeah, no doubt about it, brother. Again, for stewards listening, please contact your area rep before submitting requests, just to make sure we are not missing any key information required in the grievance. And again, I can't reiterate this enough, where it's important to reach out, because even if you think that you have everything you need, the area rep has probably done more grievances on these subjects, and we can give you exactly what we need. So please document your requests, the date and time, be specific, and follow up. I usually put in just one request, but I always let them know, hey, listen, I put in a request a couple of days ago. I haven't got anything yet. I need this information. At some of my offices, we already have grievance settlements that management's required to give you the information within 3 days or 72 hours, however they want to put it. But if that's the case and they don't give you the information, follow a grievance where they're not providing you the information, and that's important. We at Branch 38, we have our forms, the Branch 38 forms that are on our branch website. You're going to find them under the grievance forms and tools for easy everyday use. A lot of the stewards that we have, I've used them from day one. They're out there, so make sure you look into it and read it, and like I said, print them out and fill them out every single day. Some of the stewards have Word documents that we could just send to you, not the stewards, the area reps can send to the stewards with in Word documents, to where you'd only have to switch the dates and the grievance and stuff. Now we have certainly had to step up the procedure for union requests in many offices, because some offices refuse to even take requests. But again, if they refuse, just write refuse on it and give them a copy, and then let us know about it. And then we usually follow up with an email to management saying that, listen, we put in a request, even though you guys didn't sign for it, you're still obligated to give us the information. And again, just make sure you keep your area rep informed. Don't wait days. Just keep them informed of everything you're doing.
Yep.
Cliff, can you share some of the strategies that you use that have been employed in some of your more challenging offices? You use that?
Yeah, I do have some offices where submitting these requests by paper have been strategically ignored, and that's unacceptable. So some offices we've had to submit requests with a witness present. I like that strategy because it builds camaraderie and teamwork among stewards and carriers. But like you just said, writing refuse to sign with a date, securing a photocopy of that or with a timestamp. But even then, when supervisors refuse to cooperate with requests, in other offices we've had to strictly go to email with delivery confirmation receipts to document requests, because that in later grievance procedures, that's pretty ironclad. We sent the email, it was received on this date, and that's it. We move forward from there. But if your requests are being ignored or denied anywhere, please seek guidance from your area rep if this is happening. I'd like to share an example of an email that I use, and this is pretty good. I mean, always try to remain professional, as professional as possible anytime you're communicating with your employer. You just want to be, like Armando said, you want to be clear, and you always want to reference, just like we have on our Branch 38 request form, you want to reference those key parts of Stewards Rights contained within Article 17 and 31. And when you expect the request to be fulfilled, request to inform me if there is a problem, request in a time frame. My entire request is clearly, a lot of times you'll get pushback. Oh, what is this about? This is a fishing expedition. I always like to make sure that it's clear. You don't have to go into super detail, but you can let them know this is a, Article 8 grievance from, March 10th, or just give them a little clarity, and that eliminates pushback. And I also will always sign respectfully, Clifford Dodd, and just remain professional, brothers and sisters. I know we get frustrated out there, but we should do our absolute best to remain constant professionals. We kill them with kindness, and never stoop down. We're leading by example here, and you'll get much more cooperation and success for your members if you maintain this along the process. I promise you.
Yeah, I agree with that, man. those are all good ways to submit your request for information. Like we said before, document your request any way you can. This is, like I said, this is the union's right. We should also do our best to stay on top of the request. Like I said before, if they don't give it to you, make sure you remind them, hey, listen, it's already been 2 days, I didn't get it. If you're waiting longer than just a couple of days for a simple like tax report request, stay on top of them. Some stewards like to give a second request. Like I said before, I don't do that. I give them whatever our settlements say, and I remind them on the second day, hey, listen, our settlements say that you have to get it to us by the third day. So if you don't, I would like to avoid a grievance. And if they give you a reasonable, a good reason that they couldn't get it to you that day, whether it was a holiday, if it's something that it's going to take a little longer to get that in writing. Hey, listen, okay, I'll give you till such and such date to get it to me. But under the National Labor Relations Act, employers must provide unions with the information relevant to bargaining or administering a collective bargaining agreement. Refusing to provide the information and causing unreasonable delays is an unfair labor practice. And I filed a few of those unfair labor practices against a couple of offices, and those things work. But we do our best to try to avoid them. Again, try to communicate with management like, hey, listen, I need that information, okay? And again, information sought must be relevant to the union's duties as well, though the standard for relevance is broad. Cliff mentioned that management likes to say, are you doing a fishing expedition and stuff? Just keep it to what the case is about. If somebody's complaining to you about, hey, listen, they didn't give me overtime, it's an Article 8 grievance, and stick to what pertains to the Article 8 grievance and reach out to your union rep or to your area rep, and we'll be able to tell you what to request.
Yep. Article 1731 is, of course, enforceable. And if you're not getting time or information in a timely manner, we have to file those additional grievances to get to the point where the service agrees to provide that information in a set time. That's an achievable goal, I assure you. I've seen transformation in a few offices in a short amount of time. Once we start, getting those 1731s and we get agreements to a certain time frame, like I said, the generally acceptable time frame of 3 days or less, would try to shoot for that. You would agree, Armando?
Oh, absolutely. And we can cover a lot of the 17 and 31 grievances and more in depth into a different episode, but we want to make sure that our stewards are requesting information and time on the clock and in well-documented fashion in order to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that we indeed requested information in case we have to defend those rights further through the grievance arbitration process. And again, we'll cover all those grievances in a future episode, but this podcast is to make you aware of what your rights are, of what you can request and how to request it. And if you don't know how to request it, who to reach out to so we can, get you guys all on the same page and request the information that we need to do an investigation. And lastly, for carriers, please understand when your steward asks questions or requests information on your behalf, that's part of protecting your rights. There's a lot of carriers that don't want to write statements or they don't want to go into an interview because they have to go out into your route. Don't worry about your route. If we're asking you questions about a grievance, if you got a letter warning in 7 days, whatever it might be, or there's a contractual violation, the steward is trying to gather as much information as he or she can so he or she can properly file the grievance and we can get a proper remedy. If you don't help us or if you don't help the stewards, it kind of puts us in a bad situation. So when they come and ask you, it's not to bust your chops, it's to get all the information that we need to file this grievance properly. So you got anything to add on that, Cliff?
No, I think that's good. I mean, I think we should definitely go into more detail on another episode on how to file 1731s and stuff like that. But we just got to get the information out there, brother.
Yeah, one thing we want to cover too, we're going to call this segment the management mistake of the day. It's not necessarily a mistake, but today's management is constantly putting out there the charge of unsatisfactory performance. I'm sure you guys have seen it. And it's based on a single incident, which is not really what unsatisfactory performance means. I'll let Cliff explain to you what it says in the contract.
Yeah, well, if you look in the Employee Labor Relations Manual, ELM 375.2, you read the definition, and it requires performance. It's something that is repeated or consistent.
Yeah, and one day or one occurrence doesn't meet the definition that we are seeing, and we are seeing that a lot. I mean, it's happening over and over, but don't get it twisted. It's not about just the unsatisfactory performance or unsatisfactory job performance or unsatisfactory work performance. You guys got to break down everything that's in that letter. And it goes back to what we said before. If a steward is asking to interview you and asking you questions about every section of that letter, answer them. And just, if it wasn't brought up in the PDI, tell the steward. If you don't understand what's going on, speak to the steward. But we're seeing this specific charge a lot, but it's not just specifically this one. They might put that in the letter of charges, but there's a lot of other charges that us as stewards and area reps, we have to break down each segment of what they're charging us with.
No question. And this is just something we want stewards to be aware of because, these are arguments that can be made informal. If they're being charged with unsatisfactory performance and we're talking about a single day's occurrence, we would like, management to be aware of that.
Yeah, no doubt. And hopefully, we can, get the proper information that we need to fight all these. But again, that's whatever that comes down the road. If you guys aren't sure, just reach out to us and, we'll do everything we can to help everybody out. And one of the next segments that we're going to have for our podcast, it's going to be called the Branch 38 Mailbag, right? The mailbag, this will be a segment of the podcast where we can answer questions brought forward by anybody in the membership. So whatever you guys want to ask us, feel free, and Cliff will explain to you how you can get in touch with us.
Sure. We are developing the means to take open questions for the In Solidarity podcast, Branch 38, either on a Facebook page or, something dedicated for the podcast or maybe a new email just for this purpose. But for now, if you have any general questions for the show, you can email A. Pedreira, Pedreira at branch38.org or C. Hayworth Dodd at Branch 38. That's CHAWORTH DODD at Branch 38. Now, that being said, if there are any pressing matters or pressing questions that your area rep should really be handling in a timely manner, we're going to have to forward to your area rep. If there's individual office questions that are really kind of grievance or timeliness related things, then that stuff's going to have to go to your area rep. But because we might not make another podcast for a week or two, and we want to make sure that you get timely responses to pressing matters. But any sort of general contract questions you have, or anything that we can, you got any suggestions or how we can make the podcast better, or add more information or training, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We do get a lot of questions here at Branch 38. Armando, what do you have in today's Branch 38 mailbag?
Well, before I get to that question, because there is one question that came up to us, but Cliff hit it on the head where you gotta, if you have anything that's particular to your office, you gotta call your area rep, because it's very important that we stay within the time limits. We only have 14 days to file a grievance from the incident date. So don't wait, days before you mention something to us. Contact us right away. I have my stewards on a constant basis. They're calling me on a daily basis when something's going down. And we're going to be there for you. We'll pick up the phone. We'll help you guys out. But do yourselves a favor. Let us know immediately so then we can help you out. And again, that's important because we don't want to see anybody, have discipline that sticks just because we didn't stay within the time limits. But to answer your question, Cliff, one of the questions that came up before we even thought about doing this podcast is that, should management be pressuring, influencing, or coercing carriers to get on or off the overtime desire list? What do you think?
Well, the answer to that is absolutely not. That decision belongs solely to the letter carrier under Article 8 of the National Agreement. The provisions of Article 8 have been negotiated and fought for decades. They're constantly evolving, as you can see in our last contract. These rules change because these are things that letter carriers care about, and we advocate every collective bargaining agreement. These things grow, and it's about protecting our rights. And these are negotiated, fought for decades to grant rights and protections to letter carrier crafts, giving our membership some limited control over their lives in the workplace. And that's a great thing. That's what we're here for. Where employees are, we're subject to following instruction. These guidelines for Article 8 put carriers back in the driver's seat of their lives whether or not they desire overtime on their NS day, on a regular scheduled day up to 12 hours, or if they just want to be left alone. And these rights should not be sacrificed, as Article 8.5A states.
So it's important what Cliff hit it on the head, where these things are negotiated by both parties. So don't ever let the management tell you, oh, this is the, and I've heard this numerous times, where, oh, that's the union's contract. Both parties, USPS and the union, negotiated this, so they're obligated to stick with what's in the language. And pressuring carriers to forfeit any of their rights under the national agreement could possibly constitute a violation of the M39 Section 115.4, which talks about maintaining a mutual respect atmosphere. And again, don't let management push you around as far as telling you that you can or can't get on this overtime desire list. Any attempt to pressure or influence that decision may be considered a violation of national agreement. And if it is, if you feel that is, let your steward know. And, the steward's going to have to do his investigation. And that's exactly what the grievance procedure is for if you have an issue, let your steward know. And, your steward will do everything he or she can. And if they need help, they can reach out to us. Anything on that, brother?
No, that's fantastic, brother. We're just little by little, try to drop some gems and educate the membership a little bit, and help our stewards out as much as possible, as they're the watchdogs on the workroom floor. We're trying to help out a little bit. And on that, we're going to wrap it up for our first episode. We hope that you learned something, particularly about the foundation of union rights in the workplace, and Articles 17 and 31 is as that foundation from the national agreement.
And we appreciate you guys listening. And again, we're just getting started. We're brand new at this, so we're going to work out some of the kinks and stuff. But again, stick with us. We're here to educate you guys. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out, and we'll do whatever we can to educate you guys and make this union stronger than it already is.
Yeah, and we'll continue bringing and building on this foundation that we started today. And I just want a special thanks to our branch president, Joe Rotowski, and branch 38 officers and trustees that have supported the creation of this podcast for the betterment of all our members. Thank you.
Yeah, and if you're a branch 38 member, please join us at the next branch meeting. We have our branch meetings first Wednesday of every month, except for July and August. It's at 7:30, and it's at the Woodbridge Elks Lodge in Woodbridge.
Yep, and check out our branch website, www.branch38nalc.com.
That's right, brother. So stay informed.
Stay engaged.
And stay in
solidarity.
Thank you, guys.